I hate to break it to you guys, but having sex doesn't reduce your testosterone. Matter of fact, it might increase it a little bit.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, diet, training, supplementation. It is all on the table. We're going to jump right into the questions. The first two questions on this show, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. You said in one video the last week before a contest, you would drop the clen down to 20 mcg per day. Would you also have an athlete lower the T3 or not?
The reason I lower the clenbuterol is because clenbuterol has a known it releases glucagon. So and glucagon does the opposite of insulin. So glucagon's job is to take, is to kick glucose out of the muscle cells. So it basically breaks down glycogen and gets rid of it. So we don't want to do that while we're, and which helps burn fat, obviously. But because if you're depleting the cells, obviously you're going to burn more fat. But the point is that when you're carving up, you don't want to be depleting the carbs that you're shoving into the muscle cells. So, we cut back the clenbuterol. You can't eliminate it totally because I find that you get a rebound off of it. So if you cut it back to like 20 micrograms twice a day, no matter how high you were, the most you should really ever do is 120 micrograms a day. But if you're at 120 and you cut it back to 20 twice a day, you'll carb up fine, and it won't inhibit the carbing process. And so T3 really doesn't inhibit carbing, unless you're taking too much of it. But assuming you're doing the right, effective dosages from 25 micrograms to up to 100, you shouldn't really be having any problems with that. If your metabolism is going crazy, I can't imagine you being on that much anyway. But if you happen to be taking too much, you can cut it back a little bit. But I don't usually touch the T3. I just cut back the clenbuterol, and I carb people up accordingly. Once again, ideally, you'd want to cut the clenbuterol out, but you don't want to get that rebound. That's the key.
Second question, again, these questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I have flat feet, and I've always had my orthotic soles when I train. Cause my lower back suffers if I don't. Okay, it says because my lower back suffers if I don't have them. Anyway, I have much better ROM when I elevate my heels on the platform when doing squats. Since I can't find that platform in every gym, what is your opinion on elevated heel lifting shoes instead? I wouldn't be able to put my orthotics in them. Are those safe for people with flat feet and lower back issues?
The orthotics are meant to fix the problem with foot strike. Now, the problem is some sneakers, especially, I don't know why they started doing this. I don't know if there's an advantage for jumping purposes, but the basketball shoes, which I used to like to wear when I would squat, they're now lower in the back than they should be. The shoes should be higher in the heel. And that's why he's probably doing that. Some shoes they sell today now are lower for some reason in the back. And it's almost like you're dipping. And those bother my knees. And they don't allow my orthotics to properly correct my foot strike. So I don't wear anything that has a lower heel. So I try to get shoes that are like this. Nike Air Maxes tend to be really good. I don't use Nikes anymore because since I had my ankle surgery, I use Hokas because I need the cushioning in those things. Hokas are good too because they're higher in the back. So you really shouldn't have to put a platform under your shoe if you're wearing a custom-made orthotic for your shoe. So my suggestion is try to find a sneaker that is a little built up in the back, not a flat shoe or one that even has like a negative angle to it. And that tends to be a problem. And I do see them on the market. You can't get one of these, like, also the shoes that have no cushioning and no heel whatsoever. They're almost like it's like you're stepping on the floor with your flat foot. They're just not, those are just not good for squatting. And you should wear your orthotics all the time. Don't just wear them when you're lifting legs, because you want to correct your foot strike 24/7. Because you're obviously, if you need them, you're not walking correctly. You obviously have a fallen arch, or your arch is not supporting your foot properly. Now, these two questions are from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's an app that I have out there. You can download it from your Android store or from your iTunes store. It's $29 a month to get me as your coach in your back pocket. You get all my access to every article I've ever written, videos I've ever done, all in one place. We do a Q&A video every single week, kind of like Ask Dave, only it's extra, where I go over, it's a video, it's uploaded every single week to the app. I answer everyone's questions, and I show everyone the questions and the answers in open forum, so you can learn from other people's questions and the answers that I give them. Plus, we put up a workout every week. I want to thank you guys. You guys have been supporting the app. We grow every single week. We have a huge membership. And I think people really appreciate this constant influx of new information that we put up every week. So thanks for that.
Let's go to our Facebook and Instagram questions. On Facebook, search RxMuscle. On Instagram, official_RxMuscle. Raymond Dominguez, how do you feel about splitting gear doses in 7 days a week as opposed to the typical 2 times a week? I made that switch using the same stuff and roughly same amounts. What I hear is considered relatively low dose in total, and have had such better results.
Well, if you've had better results, then I say stick to it. It doesn't matter whether you take a shot every single day or if you take one shot a week. Okay, once a week you're going to kind of get some peaks and valleys. 3 times, I like to do 3 times minimum a week, because then you kind of get a better distribution of the hormones. I don't think you need to do every single day, 7 days a week. I think it's a little too much. It's overkill. But if you don't mind taking a shot every day, then there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a pain in the neck, So my suggestion is to do every other day. That at least gives you a break. Otherwise, you're going to be like a pincushion. Now, if you don't mind, like I said, loading up a syringe every day, then that's fine. And like I said, there's no disadvantage to doing it. Okay, it's just annoying, and you have to remember to do it. So everyone has different. I do hormone replacement. I do 100 milligrams of testosterone a week. I take 50 on Tuesday, and 50 on Saturday. That's how I do it. It works well for me. I remember it. I get a nice distribution. I feel good on it. But if you're good on 7 days a week, then do 7 days a week.
Raymond Dominguez also wants to know the best supplements for liver and kidney detox, natural or unnatural.
Right. Look, I always say I try to make the best supplements possible from Species Nutrition. There are certain categories that I don't cover. I don't make a kidney product. There is a product on the market that I've been using for 15 years now, and I advocate to people, and I actually started selling it 10 years ago because it was so good. It's the only product I know that will lower people's creatinine that have high creatinine. It's called Kidney Stuff. I'm the cheapest on the net. I sell it on DavePalumbo.com. It's not my product, but I believe in it. It's a great product. I recommend that everyone do at least 1 or 2 bags of that every single year. Each bag is a month's worth. I mix it in with Fiberlize, and it works tremendous. There's also a product by Bill Llewellyn makes called Liver Stable for liver cleansing. And I once again, I don't make a liver cleansing product personally right now. I like his product. I think it's the best one on the market, and I sell it on DavePalumbo.com because of that. So those 2 products are available on my website. And once again, they've proven they work. I see results. I see improvements in people's labs. And so I've been recommending those.
Let's go to Mark Bates. Is test enanthate and equipoise a good combo for the off season, or should I add D-bol or correct me if I'm saying it wrong, anapolon or anapolon?
Anapolon, yeah, it's Anadrol. Yeah. I don't like using orals in the off season. I've said it a million times. They kill your appetite, or at least they blunt it a little bit, and it makes it hard to eat. People have enough trouble eating in the off season as it is. I know guys that just cannot get 7, 8 meals down. It's impossible. They can't do it. I don't know why. Ask Nick Walker how important not missing a meal is. If you want to grow, you got to eat. And so taking orals is probably not a good idea if you have trouble eating, because they will make it tough. Made it impossible for me to eat. When I was eating 12 times a day, I couldn't do it I couldn't even barely get 6 meals down with when I would take Anadrol, which is also known as anapolon, and that's the English name of it. So my suggestion is go minimal on the oral. Sometimes I start guys off the first 4 weeks of a cycle on Dianabol, like 30 milligrams a day. That doesn't seem to suppress you too much, but if it does, just stop them. If you can't eat, you're not going to grow, and that's the bottom line.
Christian Raven or Ron, my joints are worn down, especially my knees. I've done some research. Stem cell is just not good enough yet here in Europe. Many studies suggest that deca combined with glucosamine and omega oils are effective, but what are the side effects of deca? And then he goes on, I'm not interested in getting bigger. On the contrary, I'm not on a diet, getting down from 238. Target is 210, not want to do much. So he's concerned about his joints, but then he's also afraid of the side effects of deca, but he wants to combine deca, glucosamine, and omega oils.
Yeah. My suggestion is, obviously, I have a joint product called Arthrolyze. There's nothing better than it on the market. I don't feel like I'm bragging or trying to sell you anything because I know it's the best product on the market. It's a highly effective, highly dosed glucosamine, MSM, chondroitin, boron product. It also has UC2 collagen, type 2 collagen in there, which is a patented product that helps temper the immune system's response to damaged joint and connective tissue. So it allows the body to heal itself. There's nothing more effective than that. I highly recommend you try taking 5 pills twice a day of the Arthrolyze with food, of course, incorporating that with our Omega-Lyze formula, which is obviously going to contain the fish oil and evening primrose oil, which has an anti-inflammatory effect on its own. But the joint repair aspect of Arthrolyze is the glucosamine, MSM, boron, and the chondroitin, which is really not that relevant because glucosamine converts to chondroitin. That's these components are the raw materials that make up the synovial fluid that lubricates the joints. They're the raw materials that helps your body repair the joint and connective tissue as it's damaged. Don't forget, when you're in the gym and you're damaging muscle, you're damaging connective tissue and ligaments and tendons too. It's impossible not to. And we don't eat ligaments, tendons, and cartilage in our diet. So if you don't give your body the raw materials, you're not going to repair those things. And just like if you don't eat enough protein, you're not going to repair muscle tissue. You need to take the components in that for your joints to be able to repair. Your body can't repair the joints if it doesn't have the raw materials to do it. And that's all it is. I mean, is deca a good anti-inflammatory? Sure, but it's not healing your joints. It's just reducing inflammation. You got to give your body the raw materials of what it needs. I'm telling you, try Arthrolyze. I promise you'll thank me. Give it a good 3 weeks.
Kayvon Sutterneal wants to know if you have a solution for all year-round allergies and nasal chest congestion.
Yeah, it's some people just have very bad allergy and they're just allergic to everything, pollen, dust, and I know some of these allergy shots do help to a certain degree. Some people say they help, some people say they don't. You really got to talk to an allergist because that's not my specialty. And like I said, there are therapies you can do, and some people get relief from it and some people just don't, and it's tough. I know people who struggle with allergies, and it's a real pain in the neck.
Let's go to Iron Hood Corporal. I'm 7 weeks out from a show. Is it still good to squat once a week or just stick to the presses and machine squats?
I never changed my workouts when I was getting ready for a competition. If I squatted during the off season, I continued squatting. I might not lift as heavy because maybe I just wasn't as strong as I lost weight, but I purposely didn't lighten the weight and I purposely stuck to the same exercises because that's the exercises that got you looking the way you do. So if you change the exercises prior to competition, okay, you're going to see a different look to your body, and that's not a good thing. I'm not telling you to go out there and try to break world records, while you're getting ready for competition, but certainly don't change up your exercises just because you think, oh, it's pre-contest time. I'm going to change I'm going to change everything I did that got me here in the first place. And I made all these amazing gains over the offseason. You're going to lose those gains. Don't change anything. I always tell people that if it worked and you look great, continue doing what you're doing, especially in the gym.
Let's go to Beard King lives on a cutting cycle. Is mixing primo and mast a good idea or redundant? Or I'm sorry, is it a bad idea / redundant? If not, what's a happy medium in a cycle where you're at about 1.5 grams total androgens?
There's no bad ideas on cycles. I mean, drugs don't counteract each other. Drugs are not the same as each other, so it's redundant. they all bind to androgen receptors and stimulate them in some capacity. And every drug seems to have a little bit of a different, slightly different binding capacity, which is why they all give slightly different effects. And that's why when you stack two drugs together, you kind of get a synergistic effect because they both don't bind to they can augment each other a lot of times. And primo and masteron can augment each other. Deca and trenbolone can augment each other. I know a lot of people think you shouldn't take those two together. There's no reason why you can't mix any two drugs, any two anabolics together and get a good response from it. So there are really no rules. The only rules are what you're trying to accomplish. And we know that certain long-acting injectables are good, better for the off-season because they're going to help build muscle and they're sustaining. And then some of the faster-acting injectables, okay, work better, pre-contest when your body's very lean because they don't make you retain as much water. But at the end of the day, I've seen people get ready for competitions on testosterone and GH alone, and they look freaking amazing. So there really are no rules, and you can combine any anabolics together you want.
Let's go to BA85 Muzz. I'm currently on a cut and tend to hold on to body fat at 15% off season. I'm currently on 300 tests and 300 masteron a week. Have been advised not to increase tests due to my body fat, and I will get fat but raise masteron. Your thoughts?
Yeah, steroids don't burn fat, and they don't cause you to get fat. So that's a big misnomer. I got news for you. Take the steroids that make you hold the most water, testosterone, anadrol, dianabol, all at the same time, and eat a low-carb diet. You won't hold an ounce of water, I promise you. Okay, so steroids just build and repair muscle. That's all they do. Okay, will they increase metabolic rate a little bit? Yeah, because when you're building more muscle, obviously you need to fuel that process. But they're not direct fat burners and they're not direct fat storers. That's just not the way they work.
Let's go to Booby Bobby Trap Lord. Love the name. Can you make gains on TRT after doing a full-blown cycle?
Probably not. So if you did a full-blown 1,000 milligrams testosterone a week and you did 600 milligrams of EQ and then you switched around your anabolics, did that for 18 weeks, and then you go off and you drop down to just TRT, you're not going to grow after that. It's impossible. Now, will you maintain your muscle? Yeah, probably. More than likely, you probably hold on to everything. You're just not going to make new gains by reducing your dosage. It's silly to think that.
Let's go to Bilal Hamidi. If you're a person who hates carbohydrate powders, what are some good carb options to have directly post-workout with your protein shake? Says he's currently doing bagels. So bagels and protein shakes post-workout.
I look at it this way. If you're going to do a shake, you might as well do a carb powder and a whey isolate, right? So I recommend people use my Carbolyze and Isolyze. If you don't want to do a carb powder, you might as well just eat a meal. You could eat fish or some eggs and some, jasmine rice. It's a very high glycemic carb, or some cream of rice or cream of, or grits. Those are real high glycemic carbs that get absorbed really rapidly. So you could eat them. I always ate meals, post-workout. Just the whole post-workout shake thing is a pretty recent phenomenon. When I was first doing my, training, and I first started bodybuilding, I would have a meal after I worked at, after I remember there's a Chinese restaurant, Yim's Wok, right by Bev's Francis's gym there, Powerhouse, which used to be Gold's Gym in Syosset. And we would go from there and I'd go right to Yim's Wok and I'd get steamed chicken. They'd throw eggs in there, egg whites in there, and they would throw on with white rice. And I would pour soy sauce on it, and I would just eat that. That was my post-workout meal all the time. And it absorbed quickly because chicken digests pretty easily, and the white rice digests really easily. Is it a little longer than doing a shake? Of course. But, it's getting in eventually. So, it doesn't really matter, at the end of the day, if you don't do a post-workout shake. But if you don't, like I said, if you don't like carb powders, then just don't use a carb powder. You don't need to. You could just do a whey isolate shake and then go home and eat a meal. So the isolate shake is going to be absorbed in 10 minutes probably, and you'll probably be starving after a half hour. So there's no real rules. We just kind of make up things by convention. I just happen to like to do the carb powder with the whey isolate because it's just convenient. But if you don't like it, you don't have to do it.
We're going to take a couple of more questions. This is going to be, for all full disclosure, a bit of an abbreviated show. If you can't tell, Dave has, what is that, Grey Goose in the background? Dave is about to go to the beach. Dave is literally, this recording is the one thing. Hold on a second. Let me get Dave into there we go. Yeah. This
Hey,
show is
here's
the one thing standing between Dave and the beach.
That's not mine.
Literally,
I'm not going to be drinking this, but my sister and her husband probably are drinking it. So,
right. So hence, as you could tell, we are
yeah.
in a bit of a time crunch, but we're getting all the questions in. So let's go to this question about semen retention. Raw muscle glutes. Raw muscle glutes, what a name. What do you think about semen retention as a method for boosting testosterone? Have you ever tried it, or do you know of anyone that's
Say
tried
that
it
one more
before?
time, Sid.
What are their experiences?
One
Yeah,
more time,
semen
Sid.
retention as a method for boosting testosterone.
You know, Muhammad Ali would never have sex before a fight, like 6 or 8 weeks before a boxing match, because he felt like it raised his testosterone. I hate to break it to you guys, but having sex doesn't reduce your testosterone. Matter of fact, it might increase it a little bit. So I don't think not having an orgasm is going to raise your testosterone level whatsoever. There's no evidence to that. If anything, it's going to irritate your prostate probably by not having sex and having that release. So it's an old wives' tale.
Let's go to what's his face? Alexander Ruin Coach. 2-part question. Do you have to do blood work for each new compound you're introducing into your cycles? And is it worth trying out different testosterone esters besides cypionate and enanthate when you're trying to learn about everything in an on and off season cycle?
I don't think you need to do any blood work while you're on a cycle, because I probably not going to come out, very good. I usually tell people before you start a cycle, do some blood work. And then when the cycle's over, and after about 3 or 4 weeks, do some follow-up blood work so that you can see, if your body is still in a good, healthy state, if your creatinine is normal, so your kidney function is good, if, all your blood markers are in the right positions, blood sugar is good, and A1C is good. But there's no reason to do it while you're on a cycle. Now, should you try different testosterone esters? I mean, if you have access to them and you want to just see how your body responds to it and how they feel, all testosterone is essentially the same, right? Now, if you use a fast-acting ester and you don't take it frequently enough, you might get ups and downs that you might not like. I always responded better to the long-acting esters because they kind of are always there, and they seem to be much more consistent. And I just got better results from that because of the fact that I didn't get highs and lows from it. I recommend that my clients because I've came up with that data on my own from experimenting. Every time I used a fast-acting ester like testosterone propionate, I got ups and downs, and I really didn't like the way it felt because I was very allergic to it, and it would hurt wherever I injected it. When I used testosterone suspension, which is a water-based testosterone, which is very fast-acting, I got super highs and lows, and I had to take a long-acting testosterone with it as a baseline just to prevent myself from getting these crazy peaks and valleys. So after all the experimenting that I've done, I can save you guys a lot of trouble. Stick to your long-acting testosterone like cypionate and enanthate. You get the best, most consistent results with the least side effects.
Take one more from Atleta and Bolivera. He asked it in one way. I'm going to try to rephrase it in a way where I think he's trying to, the essence of the question. In your opinion, at what age is it possible for an athlete to, after the age of 40, is it still possible to compete at a competitive level in bodybuilding? To what extent, to what age will your body still evolve is what he's trying to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that the later you start, the later you can go. So like Ronnie Coleman got a later start. He never took anabolics also till he was in his later 20s. And I think that's why he was able to go into his 40s. And if he didn't get injured, if he didn't hurt his back, he probably could have won, another 3 or 4 Olympias. So his body was kind of like still fresh. He just had that one injury. Whereas I've seen guys that start in their teens and they tend to fizzle out a little earlier. They don't tend to go as long. Also, I think the bigger bodybuilders tend to not last as longer than the medium-sized bodybuilders. Like, look at Dexter. Dexter was never like huge. He had great symmetry and great conditioning, but he lasted a lot longer because his physique wasn't as big and it wasn't as beat up and he didn't lift as heavy. So, the bigger guys maybe could be more impressive, like Irani or Dorian, but they seem to get injured a little bit more. Maybe their bodies don't hold up as long because of that. So, there's no like rule of thumb. If you're healthy and you're in your 40s and you're training and you're getting good results, you can probably go, until you're almost 50 and see some good results. Whereas other people that might have been competing since they're, in 18, 19 years old, once they hit 40, it might be too much for them and they might be kind of like going in the other direction. I noticed, like I said, because I had shoulder injuries, when I hit about 34, 35, I said, you know what? I don't think I can be better than the year before that. My shoulders were just too painful and I wasn't able to train and pose the way I wanted to. So I stopped. But, because I just accepted the fact that if I can't be better than I was last year, then there's no reason for me to keep competing. Some people don't have those injuries and they can go a little longer. So everyone's body is different. And you got to kind of go by what your body is telling you and read the messages. And don't be afraid, to accept the truth, which is maybe I can't be better than I was the year before that. And if that's the case and you're done competing, stop. If you're okay with just being the same as last year, then keep going. Only you can make that decision for yourself. At the end of the day, that's the truth.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder right now on the channel, all new episode of the After Hours podcast. The full interview with George Farah is live as well. We dropped yesterday on the channel. All new Heavy Muscle Radio, the full recap of the Arnold South America. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. And as always, we appreciate all of your support. For Dave Palumbo, Dave, go enjoy the beach. I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We will see you next time.